Now let's get to your free MLB picks for August 26th. In part 2 of 2, we've got 7 games lined up, a side and a total on every single one. Let's get into it. Quick ask before we get into it. If you find this useful, drop a like and subscribe to the Doctor of Sports Picks. We put out fresh picks like this every single day. Check the channel for the rest of today's slate and stick around to the end. We begin in the Bronx, where the Houston Astros visit the New York Yankees at 7:05 Eastern this evening. New York sits at 74-57, 33-29 at home, and winners of 6 of their last 10. Houston arrives dead even at 66-66, 33-31 on the road, but cooling off at 4-6 over the last 10. The season series is split 2 games apiece, which tells you these clubs have found each other's level regardless of the standings gap. The Astros hand the ball to Peter Lambert, and the profile there is genuinely split. His season earned run average sits at 3.68, which is perfectly playable, but his last 3 starts have produced an 8.56 mark, and that is the kind of regression the market notices. What the model weighs more heavily is lineup strength. Houston scores 4.58 runs per game against New York's 4.47, a small but real edge for the visiting offense. The home field baseline, blending Pythagorean expectation, earned run average, and the platoon matchup still favors the Yankees, and honestly, the bullpen availability factor cuts against Houston hard. A 4.04 relief earned run average versus New York's 3.06 is a meaningful late innings disadvantage. Add a Yankees run prevention number of 3.73 per game against Houston's 4.90, and the counter argument is straightforward. This is a case where the number, not the nameplate, does the work. Solved pick needs manual review. Total centers on the run projection. Starters and offenses here project out to roughly 8.2 combined runs, which sits below the posted 8 3/4. That is the entire thesis, and it is a thin one at an edge of 1.2%. Park plays essentially neutral on a basic factor of 99, and the Yankee bullpen at 3.06 is exactly the kind of unit that shortens games. Honest counter. The home run factor here reads 104. The wind component is blowing out at 6.39. The temperature is 21.8 degrees Celsius, and there is no roof. Peter Lambert's last 3 starts suggest the first 4 innings could get loud in a hurry. This is a lean, not a conviction play, and it needs Houston's rotation arm to look like his season line rather than his recent form. Solved pick needs manual review. Solved short script needs manual review. Solved short script needs manual review. Game break. North of the border, the Kansas City Royals visit the Toronto Blue Jays at 7:07 Eastern this evening, and the records lie to you here. Toronto is 64-69, 33-34 at home, and treading water at 5-5 over their last 10. Kansas City is 59-74 overall, and a grim 23-44 on the road, but they have won 9 of their last 10. The only prior meeting in this series went to the Royals. Pitching matchup is the story. Toronto sends out Spencer Miles, a 3.02 season earned run average with 3 straight scoreless outings, a 0.00 mark across his last 3 starts. Kansas City counters with Randy Dobnak and a 1.58 season figure, 2.46 across his last 3. On paper, that is 2 arms in form. The model's red leans on lineup strength, and here the Royals hold the edge, 4.25 runs per game against Toronto's 3.94. The home field baseline, blending Pythagorean expectation, earned run average, and the platoon matchup still tilts toward Toronto, and there is no hiding the counter-argument. Kansas City's bullpen carries a 5.20 earned run average against Toronto's 3.77, and the Royals allow 4.92 runs per game. Instead of 23-44 road split is not a rounding error either, but at a run and a half with a 6.2% edge, the price is doing real work. Solved pick needs manual review. Total is where the conviction sits, and it is the strongest number on this game by a wide margin, a 14.5% edge. Start with the projection. These starters and these offenses model out to just 6.3 combined runs against a posted 8.5. Both starting pitchers are in genuine form. Miles with 3 consecutive scoreless efforts and Dobnak sitting at 1.58 for the season. Park and weather reinforce it. The basic park factor is 99, the wind component is minus 6.55, blowing in toward center, and the temperature is 18 degrees Celsius. The counter-argument is the roof, which is retractable, meaning that wind read can be neutralized entirely if it closes, and the Royals' 5.20 bullpen mark is a live path to a late innings crooked number. Still, the projection gap here is enormous. Solved pick needs manual review. Solved short script needs manual review. Solved short script needs manual review. Day break. Out to Queens, where the Milwaukee Brewers visit the New York Mets at 10 past 7 Eastern this evening, and this one carries the widest talent gap of the slate. Milwaukee arrives at 81-51, the best record we will discuss today, 36-27 on the road, and 6-4 across their last 10. Mets are 60-72, 31-35 at home, but they are the hotter club right now at 7-3 over their last 10 stretch. The season series is knotted at 2 games apiece, and that alone should give you pause about treating this as a mismatch. The pitching matchup is unusual in that neither side offers much comfort. Milwaukee starts Dustin May, who carries a 4.57 season earned run average and a 6.00 mark across his last 3 starts. New York answers with Robert Stock, a 5.40 season figure that has drifted to 6.94 over his last 3. Both arms have been trending the wrong direction, and when neither starter projects to hold a lead, the game tends to get decided by everything downstream of them. The factor the model leans on here is park and weather, and it is specific. A park factor of 96, wind blowing out at 5.9, and 22 degrees Celsius with no roof. That combination, a suppressive ballpark with a mild carry assist, points toward a game played in a narrower band than the raw talent gap suggests, and in a narrow band, the home team's marginal advantages matter more. Now the honest counter-argument, because it is substantial. Milwaukee is the better team by every conventional measure available. They score 4.94 runs per game against New York's 4.16. They allow 3.73 against the Mets' 4.46. Their bullpen earned run average of 3.32 edges New York's 3.70. Their road split of 36-27 is better than the Mets' home mark of 31-35. If you simply rank these two rosters on run differential, this would not be close, and taking the home side outright on a money line requires a genuine outcome, not a covered spread. But at a 3.2% edge, the model is telling you the market has priced Milwaukee's resume and discounted the environment, the split series, and a Mets club playing its best baseball of the recent stretch. That is the whole argument, and it is a live one. Solved pick needs manual review. Solved short script needs manual review. Game break. So Atlanta now, where the Los Angeles Dodgers face the Braves at 7:15 Eastern this evening in the best head-to-head matchup on the board. Los Angeles is 80-52 and playing well at 7-3 over their last 10, 40-26 on the road. Atlanta counters at 77-55 with a genuinely elite 43-23 home mark, but they have dropped 6 of their last 10. Atlanta also owns this season's series 3-1, which is exactly the sort of thing the market remembers. The model's red here is broad rather than narrow, and it stacks in the Dodgers' favor. Start with starting pitching. Roki Sasaki brings a 4.42 season earned run average, trending down to 3.18 over his last 3 starts, against A.J. Smith-Shawver at 6.23 both for the season and across his last 3. That is a clear gap. Lineup strength favors Los Angeles as well, 4.97 runs per game against 4.68. Park and weather add a nudge with a neutral 100 park factor, wind blowing out at 5.5 and 26 degrees Celsius. Counter arguments are real. The home field baseline still favors Atlanta, and bullpen availability tilts Braves as well, 3.42 against the Dodgers' 3.97. That 43-23 home split and the 3-1 series lead are not noise, but laying a run and a half here still grades out with a 2.5% edge. Solved pick needs manual review. Weight, the total. The projection here is aggressive. Starters and offenses model out to 10.3 combined runs against a posted 8.5, which is a substantial gap. The driver is obvious in the starting pitching. Smith-Shawver has a 6.23 earned run average for the season and the identical figure across his last 3 starts, and Sasaki's 4.42, while trending better, is not a shutdown number. Park and weather cooperate. A neutral 100 park factor with the wind blowing out at 5.5 towards center and a warm 26.4 degrees Celsius, no roof. Counter-argument is that both of these clubs prevent runs well over a full season. Atlanta at 3.84 allowed per game and Los Angeles at 3.83, and both bullpens are solid, 3.42 and 3.97. If the starters get pulled early and the leverage arms take over, this number is beatable. Solved pick needs manual review. Solved short script needs manual review. Solved short script needs manual review. The South Side, where the Texas Rangers visit the Chicago White Sox at 7:40 Eastern this evening. Chicago sits at 69-63, and the home split is the headline, 40-27 at their ballpark, against a 5-5 run over the last 10. Texas is 66-67, 30-38 away from home, and 6-4 in their last 10. The season series is perfectly even at 3 games apiece. Starting matchup is closer than the model's conclusion suggests. Chicago's Sean Burke carries a 3.27 season earned run average, though it has drifted to 4.67 across his last three. Texas counters with Mackenzie Gore at 4.26 for the season, but a sharp 2.12 over his last three starts. So if you are weighting recent form, Gore is the better arm right now. What the model leans on is a single factor: the home field baseline, blending Pythagorean expectation, earned run average, and the platoon matchup. That is where the 40-27 home mark, the 4.78 runs scored per game against Texas's 4.05, and the 3.83 bullpen figure against the Rangers' 4.28 all get folded together. The counter-argument deserves airtime. Laying a run and a half against a team you have split 6 games with the opposing starter in his best form of the season, is not a comfortable position. Chicago allows 4.49 runs per game, so blowouts are not their default, but the edge grades at 5.7%. Solved pick needs manual review. Total is the thinnest number on our card, a 0.9% edge, so treat it accordingly. The projection lands at 7.9 combined runs against a posted 8, which is barely a distinction at all. Park and weather offer modest support. A neutral 100 basic factor with the wind component at -2.51, blowing in towards center. Both starters have shown suppressive stretches, Burke at 3.27 for the season and Gore at 2.12 over his last three. Clear counter-argument is the home run factor, which reads 105, meaningfully above neutral, and there is no roof. Chicago scores 4.78 runs per game, which is a real offense, and both bullpens sit in the high 3s to low 4s, 3.83 and 4.28. There is no margin for error on a number this tight. Solved pick needs manual review. Solved short script needs manual review. Solved short script needs manual review. Dane break. On to St. Louis, where the Baltimore Orioles visit the Cardinals at 7:45 Eastern this evening. These are two clubs separated by almost nothing. St. Louis is 66-67, 32-35 at home, and 4-6 over their last 10. Baltimore is 64-68, 30-34 on the road, and 5-5 recently. The Cardinals hold the season series 2-1. Rotation matchup is nearly a mirror image. St. Louis starts Michael McGreevy, 3.54 for the season and 3.18 over his last three. Baltimore counters with Kyle Bradish at 3.70 for the year and 3.06 over his last three. Both arms are pitching well, and neither creates separation. The factor the model isolates here is park and weather. A park factor of 98, a home run factor of 94, wind blowing in at 5.3, and 24.7 degrees Celsius. That is an environment that compresses scoring, and compressed games tend to stay inside a run and a half, which is exactly what taking the home side plus the runs is asking for. Now the counter. Baltimore actually scores slightly more per game, 4.51 against 4.41, and the Orioles bullpen is the better unit at 4.02 against a leaky 4.48 for St. Louis. The Cardinals also allow 4.51 runs a game. The edge is a modest 1.8%, so this is a small stakes position. Solved pick needs manual review. Total is where the model has more conviction, a 6.3% edge. The park and weather case is the lead argument, a basic factor of 98, a home run factor of just 94, and the wind blowing in towards center at 5.3. That is genuine run suppression at the margins. Projection backs it up at 8.0 combined runs against a posted 8, and combined with the environmental drag, the model wants the low side. Both starters support the read, McGreevy at 3.18 and Bradish at 3.06 over their last three outings. The counter-argument is not trivial. Projection of exactly 8 against a number of 8 means you are relying entirely on the park and wind adjustment, and both bullpens are vulnerable, 4.48 for St. Louis and 4.02 for Baltimore. If either starter exits in the 5th, the relief corps here can hand runs back quickly. Solved pick needs manual review. Solved short script needs manual review. Solved short script needs manual review. Break. We close on the West Coast, where the Minnesota Twins visit the Athletics at 9:05 Eastern this evening. The home side is 52-81, 24-41 at their ballpark, and 4-6 over their last 10. Minnesota is the better team on paper at 64-69, though only 29-38 on the road, and they too are 4-6 in their last 10. Neither club is carrying momentum into the nightcap. This is the largest side edge on the board at 12.8%, and it comes entirely from the pitching. JT Ginn takes the ball for the Athletics with a 3.60 season earned run average, 4.24 over his last 3 starts. Minnesota answers with Connor Prelip at 5.57 for the season and a deeply concerning 9.56 across his last 3. That is close to a 2-run gap in season earned run average and a much larger one in current form, and it is the single cleanest starter mismatch we have discussed today. Second factor is bullpen availability, and here it is a matter of degrees rather than quality. The Athletics carry a 5.67 relief earned run average against Minnesota's 4.87, so this actually cuts against the home side. That is the counterargument, and it is a real one. Add that the Athletics allow 5.76 runs per game against Minnesota's 4.99 and score fewer 4.35 to 4.59, and you can see why the market has this priced where it has. But a run and a half is a wide net for a team facing a starter with a 9.56 mark over 3 outings. Solved pick needs manual review. Total sits at 10, which tells you the market already respects the run environment here, and the model still wants the low side at an 8.4% edge. The logic is straightforward. A number that high demands an offensive explosion to clear, and neither of these lineups is prolific. 4.35 runs per game for the home side and 4.59 for Minnesota. Even with a park factor of 103 basic and 103 on home runs, a mild breeze out at 2.79, and no roof, 10 runs is a lot of ground to cover. The counterargument is right there in the pitching and relief numbers. Connor Prelip has a 9.56 earned run average over his last 3 starts. The Athletics bullpen sits at 5.67, Minnesota's at 4.87, and the home side allows 5.76 runs per game. If the starters are short, this clears in a hurry. Solved pick needs manual review. Solved short script needs manual review. Solved short script needs manual review. And that wraps up the full card for today. If you're new here, hit like and subscribe. We drop fresh picks every single day right here on the Doctor of Sports Picks. Catch you tomorrow.